All right, here we are. We are live. Welcome to Mike Goes Live, which is somewhat the official name of my live stream. It's not a good name. But anyway, if you missed my Sunday news video, I was originally going to review that monitor that I unboxed last week, the Scepter one. That's a weird. I keep wanting to say Spectra, and I even found myself typing that when I was like editing the video, but it's actually Sceptra. I don't know. Anyway, but I ended up doing some computer upgrades, so I didn't want to risk not being able to do the video. So I was like, if it's possible, if everything goes well, then I might be able to do a live stream. So here I am at 5 a.m. Eastern time in the United States doing a random 5 a.m. live stream that I only scheduled like 30 minutes beforehand. So I don't expect people to be watching this live. I don't expect it. But you know what? I'm here. This is where I got the energy. And you may ask, Michael, shouldn't you be asleep? And I would ask you, shouldn't you be asleep? Even though you might be watching this at a more reasonable time. But shouldn't you be asleep? Don't question me. All right, we are going to bear through this. My Panasonic camera and this questionable autofocus that was being super sketchy before I started streaming live. So we'll see how this works. Now, the upgrade, it did go well. So the graphics card actually got here today on Wednesday. And I went ahead, before it arrived, I went ahead and swapped out the motherboard and basically got all the wiring ready. So when it came, all I do was slap it in. That was the easy part. You know what the hard part was? Moving my old graphics card to a different computer, a way smaller case. So if you've seen some of my videos about like the NZXT Kraken or the Asia Horse GPU cooler that I got recently, you'll know how janky I made my 2080 Ti by doing that water cooler mod with a 140 millimeter radiator instead of a 120 that I meant to buy, but I wasn't paying attention. So it's like I got to take out the radiator, I got to take out the graphics card, and I got to take out that cooler that cools the RAM, and I got to fit this in the NZXT H510, which is like a way smaller case. I didn't even know it supported 140 millimeter fans or water coolers. I had to look it up, and I was only able to get 2 screws in the bottom of it. So it's even more janky than it was on my computer originally. But that took me like 2 hours. Like, it took me less time to switch out my whole motherboard, rewire everything, and install a new GPU than it was just to transfer that GPU to another computer. But it is working. I successfully got it working in a different computer. As janky as it is, the 2080 Ti shall live on for now until hopefully it doesn't break. It's kind of janky. But yeah, I wanted to do this live stream. I have a few things I want to talk about. Some things that I don't feel like talking about in a news video. My news video have been focused more on gaming, and I feel like with the live stream, it just kind of gives me the flexibility to talk about a little bit more than gaming, things that I find kind of interesting, but not really interesting enough to do a news video about. Like, my news videos are very focused. Typically, it's the stories that I really want to talk about. So before, when I started the news videos, it was like I had to find 5 stories. I had to have 5 stories every week. And sometimes I would be scraping the barrel. And then I was like, why do I have to have 5 stories? So sometimes I'll go in depth on one story. I might just have like 2 or 3 stories. But I just feel like it's been a lot better since then. And the videos have been shorter because I just don't feel like if this is the news that I have, this is the news that I have. And I've really enjoyed this new format a lot more. So I'm going to stick to it, just talking about what I want to talk about. That's the most important news for that week. But when I do something like a live stream, this is where we can kind of expand. So there is actually a story about the GPD win. I saw it when I was looking last week. And the reason I didn't report on it, because there was only one site or a couple sites that are reporting on it. Because it's a relatively small company. And of course, me getting the win recently, I kind of keep my eye on it. Because it's a cool device. Now, I have heard some bad things about the company. I read bad things about the company. I mentioned the build quality in the unboxing and in the review video. But apparently, they also have pretty bad marketing, and they've been going after the Steam Deck. I guess they feel threatened by it. So this is apparently has been like an ongoing thing where they've been kind of touting that, you know, the Win is more powerful than the Steam Deck, and a bunch of stuff that's not true. Apparently, there was like a blog post last week where, or it might have been a few weeks ago, where they said something along the lines of like Valve was trying to do a closed off ecosystem, which is of course just not true because it's just running a version of Linux. You can install whatever. You can even install Windows on it. So we all know that's not true. And I like the Win, and I think that GPD should just focus on the stuff that they do well. Like I pointed out, aside from the Win being the cheapest option that I saw on the used market, I really do like the fact that it has a keyboard. It has everything that you need. That you don't have to, you know, hook up a mouse or a keyboard if you really need to do some weird Windows stuff. So I've still used it like up until this point without ever having to hook anything up to it externally. Aside from I do dock it to charge it, and the dock has an Ethernet cable connected to it. So if I want to download games faster, I do dock it to download games. But other than that, I haven't used like a mouse or keyboard with it. I've been able to do everything on the Win. So let me switch over to my desktop. So this is the article from Game Rant. It's originally reported by Linux on Gaming. That's the name of the website. And there's also a YouTube channel. They did a short 2-minute video about it. So I'm just going to kind of recap what's going on. So apparently they have their YouTube channel. Apparently they've been taking footage from other YouTubers and kind of using it out of context to try to show that the Win is more powerful than the Steam Deck. And from the videos I've seen, the Win, if all things are equal, is actually in a lot of cases the most powerful, depending on, you know, what if it's running on Vulkan or OpenGL or whatever. But typically, all things equal, the Win usually is the most powerful handheld. So I don't know why they even feel it's necessary to do this. But yeah, the biggest issue I've had, like I said, is a lot of driver compatibility, as I mentioned in my review. A lot of driver compatibility issues. I even got mad because I didn't buy it. Jeff bought it. Oop, I flung my headphone thing. But Jeff bought WWE 2K22 because I mentioned that I love wrestling games. And so I go and play it, and it's running pretty smooth on the Win. And then there's just this weird texture issue where, like, anytime anyone had, like, dangly clothing on or any, like, a thick shirt or something like that, it would just stretch. Like, during the entrances, it would stretch infinitely. And then, like, it would be attached to the ring during matches. It's a really weird glitch that I haven't seen anything about. So I submitted a support request to 2K, like, just to kind of report the bug. And then of course they just did like this generic response, and they were just like, send in screenshots, try restarting the game and send in screenshots if it doesn't work, and fill out this form. And I was like, I literally put all of this information in the form that I submitted along with the screenshots. It's just super annoying. But anyway, there's just weird stuff like that. So I kind of, after living through this, I kind of appreciate what Valve is doing with the whole verified on deck thing. But that's not the whole point of that. Was just a side rant, which is appropriate because I'm pulling this story from Game Rant. But yeah, basically they've been taking footage from other YouTubers and not crediting them, and then trying to use the footage to basically make the Steam Deck look bad and make the GPD Win seem, I guess, more powerful. I went to their YouTube page. It was hard to tell what was going on because most of it was in Chinese, and I didn't have subtitles, so I don't know what they're actually saying in the video, or a lot of the videos that I looked at. But yeah, the videos are very different. Like, you can kind of tell by the thumbnails, it's different people in the video. So I could believe that they're probably just not wanting to spend money and record their own videos, so they're just taking YouTubers' work and just talking over it, basically. So it seems like that's what's going on. And the guy, or the person that did the video about it and the original post about it, Linux on Gaming, they said something to them on Twitter about it, and then they basically, GPD just blocked them on Twitter. So yeah, really shady behavior from the company. Now, personally, technically, I didn't give money to the company because I bought it secondhand, so they didn't really get any money from me aside from like the case that I bought, which was like $28. But I'm not saying that I'm not one of those people. What I'm trying to say is I'm not one of those people that's like, when a company does something bad, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to write them off completely. It really depends on the product, and it depends on the context of what they're doing. GPD with their bad marketing, yeah, it's stupid, but it really doesn't change my feelings on the device. I still love the device itself. I just think it's stupid because they already have carved out their own niche. The Steam Deck is different enough from the Win where they can continue to do their own thing and there's still reason to buy it over the Steam Deck. It's not like they're the exact same thing, but I guess they're feeling threatened because yeah, I mean the Steam Deck is a good deal at $400, especially starting off, and yeah, and it's almost as powerful. So yeah, I can understand why they feel that way, but if I was them, I would just keep doing what they're good at. They have these little mini PCs. They have stuff like the Win. Yeah, I don't. It's dumb. It's really dumb, in my opinion. So yeah, that's what's going on with GPD. I just wanted to be upfront with y'all. That may influence, like I said, it doesn't change things for me, but it may influence some of y'all's decisions about buying it. I mean, it is more expensive than the Steam Deck if you're holding off for that. I'm still in Q3. Nothing's changed. I did report on Sunday that they've upped the shipments, so hopefully people that are waiting for the Steam Deck can get it. But yeah, I haven't heard anything bad about like INE or One X Player. I think that's the other one of the other major mini PC brands. Well, not major. I mean, it's kind of a small market, but you know that's one of the other well-known ones. And it just seems like it's mainly just GPD, so it really sucks. But yeah, I on the side note, well, not on the side note, but yeah, I've been really enjoying this thing. It's kind of a follow up to my review, and I did something horrible, and I installed Uno on it, and I don't know why. I first of all, I knew it was a bad idea for me to buy Uno. It was $3 like during one of those Steam sales, and I was like, I'm just gonna get the Uno. I'm gonna get Uno. And then it's one of those situations where I just get hooked on it, and it's so I have so many games to play. I have Elden Ring, I have 2K22. I just got this new graphics card, but then I'm just sitting here on this handheld playing Uno, and then occasionally playing Tony Hawk Underground. That's what I've been doing up there, and yeah, it's still awesome. Just to have that experience. I think someone asked me about the build quality or mentioned it today about the build quality, and they also have poor support, and it's one of those things where definitely if I was buying it new, I would take it into consideration. But because I'm buying it used, I already know that I'm not going to have a warranty. And I've looked, and a lot of the parts are available online through third parties. So if it does break, like, you know, if the triggers do give out, because I mentioned that they feel kind of flimsy in the thumbstick, used buyer, but also that behavior. Like if I was buying it new and I expected my warranty to be honored, then that is something that I'd be worried about. So again, there's a lot of stuff with GPD, so I don't want to just sit here and like praise them. Like I love the device, but I don't want to just pretend that everything is good with the company and not give you the other side of what's going on. As far as the thumbsticks, I did end up putting just some, you know, scotch tape, like the little clear tape that you use for like office work, just a little piece around the little nub that the thumbstick goes on to make it a little bit thicker. And the thumbstick issue is pretty much resolved. So that's what I read on Reddit. Someone suggested that there are people that try to use glue, and it's a really bad idea. Apparently, somehow I've only seen like I think 3 instances, and one of them was actually on eBay where someone used glue to try to get the thumbstick to stick. And in all instances, it stopped like the R3 and L3 from working. I guess because glue got down in there, and that's the one where you click down on the thumbsticks. So yeah, I already knew not to do that. So someone suggested the tape thing, and that worked pretty good. So yeah, someone was selling the damaged one on eBay that the R3 didn't work, which just seems like it's a cheap fix because I looked up the like thumbstick enclosure, and they're around $20 each. But still, you'd be buying something used. And it wasn't even a good price. It was like more than what I paid for this one, for a broken one. I mean, it was the i7 version. I think it was the 1165, not the 1195. But still, I'm like, I'm not going to buy something that's already broken for at that price. If they were selling it for like 700, maybe I would have considered it. But like, I think they were selling it for like 980 or something. I'm like, nah. In other news, we all know that Apple, they dropped that Mac Studio recently. Like, dropped it right on our heads Boom. And before I got the RTX 3080, I had considered switching to the Mac Studio again, even though I said that I'm done with Apple computers, at least expensive ones. I have my Mac Mini still for music stuff, but there's just bad experience from when I spent $2,000 on a MacBook Pro and I decided to go all in. I was going to edit on Mac and do everything. And it was such a bad experience that I don't think I could realistically go back to using a Mac computer again. And then before that, I had an iMac and I also hated that. So it was tempting though, because the performance at $2,000, it will be roughly the same or a little bit better than my computer. I mean, now that I got the 3080, it's a 12 gig version too. I don't know, but the optimizations they've done for like video editing are pretty cool. It's just the idea though that I don't like buying a desktop that I can't upgrade at all. I don't like buying, like, especially a desktop, like buying a configuration of a desktop and then you're just stuck with it forever. You can't even upgrade the storage. Like, at least the storage and the RAM, like, needs to be standard on like most all-in-ones. And then here Apple comes with this amazing computer that you literally can't upgrade, even though it has an extra M.2 slot, even though it's not really an SSD slot, because technically they're not SSDs, they're just NAND flash, and the controller and the other stuff's built into the processor. So yeah, I can understand from that standpoint, but still, it's like, y'all can't make this upgradable at all. Y'all gotta glue stuff together. So yeah, I considered it because overall, in the long run, it would actually be cheaper because of how much I'm paying for Premiere Pro every month. If I just bought Final Cut and used a Mac, in a few years it'd be cheaper than, you know, what I'm paying, what I paid for this computer plus paying monthly for Premiere Pro. But I really like the power and the upgradability of having like an actual desktop. So I decided against it, and ultimately I ended up getting a new graphics card instead. But yeah, I was tempted by it. It seems like a cool little machine, especially with the power draw. Like this car's power draw is gonna be ridiculous. I can already tell. I just know. It's over 300 watts. I just know it. And it's a 12 gig version, so it's even more than a regular 3080. It's sad. Sad the whole computer draws less power than my graphics card. But you know what? I like being able to have like a big beefy graphics card and just upgrade, throw in new components whenever I want to. Like, I've been building this computer for the last like 3 or 4 years and just upgrading it over time. And it's been really fun. So I don't know. That's the main reason I can't switch to a Mac. And then they did the Mac Pro that people wanted, and I was like, ooh. For me, when I heard about it, I was like, ooh, I wonder how much this is gonna cost. Because if that was like starting out at $2,000 and I could buy it and upgrade it, I'd be like, cool. I would have considered getting it at the time, but they made it $5,000 for not great specs, and so they even priced me out of that. And so yeah, I don't think I'll ever realistically go back to using a Mac full time, even though it was tempting for the prospect of Final Cut and the optimizations, because I know I could get similar performance to what I'm getting on my desktop. But that was just my little side rant about my bad decisions, or not decisions because I decided not to, but my impulsive thinking that leads me into situations where I make dumb decisions. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this 3080. I haven't had that much time to test it. Honestly, it came around 3 o'clock, and then I finished installing it. I think I ran Cyberpunk because that's kind of like, even though I don't really like the game that much, to be honest, it's kind of like the benchmark now. Like, I just throw on Cyberpunk because it's a tough game to run. I'm like, ooh, this Cyberpunk real smooth. So I was already impressed out the gate. And I played a little bit of Death Stranding on it, but considering it was right before work, I didn't really have that much time with it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this thing and seeing how it compares to the 2080 Ti. And honestly, I didn't expect to be that impressed with it, because I'm looking at the numbers. The 2080 Ti is like, it's not that much slower than, 38, not slower, but less performant than a 3080 on paper. I mean, if you look at benchmarks, it's like 10 to 20 more frames a lot of the times. But for some reason, even though Cyberpunk wasn't getting that many frames, it was just overall smoother. I think it was just the lows. It wasn't going nearly like, it wasn't having the random dips that I was having my 2080 Ti, and it just felt super smooth. And I was impressed. I was really impressed. So I'm looking forward to also trying video editing up here to see how that is, see what kind of gains I can get there. Speaking of gains, guess what? iPhone users are finally about to gain. We're about to gain this wonderful feature on YouTube, and it's called Picture in Picture. So I didn't realize this was still in beta, because I remember before I heard that if you had YouTube Premium, that you got Picture in Picture when they rolled out the feature as an OS feature, like, what was it, over a year ago at this point, or 2 years? I don't remember when it rolled out in iOS. But yeah, apparently it's still just been in testing this whole time. So I actually have YouTube Premium, and the funny thing is, I thought that I was just having like weird issues with my devices, because on Jeff's, like, we have a family account, right? So on Jeff's iPhone and iPad, on his account, he's able to do Picture in Picture on the iPhone and on the iPad, and I wasn't. And I didn't realize that they were still testing it. So only certain premium members are getting to test it, while others aren't. And that's kind of weird, considering that we're under the same plan, and he got access to it and I didn't. But yeah, apparently it's coming soon in the next few weeks for iOS. So I wonder if Google is finally giving up on trying to charge iPhone users to basically listen to videos while the app's closed, because you have to have YouTube Premium. Like, without YouTube Premium, if you close the app, it just stops. But if you have Premium, you still get the audio even if the app's closed. So it lets you listen to stuff, which is still not really worth paying for. I have Premium because I watch YouTube a lot and I don't like the ads. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I probably watch YouTube more than anything else subscription wise that we have. So I'm just going to get Premium, and I've been really happy with it. But for them to try to sell that as like a premium only iOS feature, I was really stupid. So I'm wondering how they're going to handle the Picture in Picture, because this article makes it sound like it's coming to everybody, but traditionally they've always been, at least on iPhone, they want to charge you extra for it. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Hopefully it's a free feature. It's free like on every other app. I mean, well, granted, you are, most of them, like on Netflix or HBO or whatever, you're paying for a subscription. So I do get that argument, but like, it shouldn't be a paid feature. It's an OS feature. So hopefully we get it soon, because it is kind of annoying not to have that, especially like on my iPad where I want to browse around and I can't. Well, iPad, you can work around it by just opening YouTube in the web browser, but you know, it'd be nice to just have it as a feature. The other thing, I guess, let me touch on what I've been playing lately, since I've been talking so much about gaming recently. So, of course, I mentioned earlier 2K22. I'm still dipping into Elden Ring. I keep getting destroyed on a regular basis. I thought by now that would have stopped. Apparently not. I also bought this really janky wrestling game. It's called Wrestling Empire. I've played these games before. They've been around for a long time, but it's a single guy that develops them. They're like, it's crazy, like the gameplay. It's not the greatest gameplay, but like the stuff you can do in that game is just wild. It was like on sale for $15, and I feel good about supporting a single developer, so I bought that. I'm planning on hopping into Tunic. I did install that when I was testing out the games on the Win, so I already have it installed on the Win, so that seems like the perfect game to play up there, and it runs just fine. So I do plan on playing that eventually. It's on Game Pass, so that's what I'm playing it on. And what else have I been playing? I don't know. I haven't even touched the Switch as much. I just think I just lost interest in Arceus. This always happens in every game for me. I get like towards the middle or towards the back half of the game, and I just stop playing it for months. And I just randomly come back to them. Let me finish this game. I'm interested in it again. So Arceus, I kind of just stopped playing, but I plan on going back and finishing that. Also, we ended up getting a second Switch OLED, even though I was like, look, you know what the deal is. I told Jeff, I was like, you know what the deal is. I have it in my room. It's right here. But you know that it's just a screen. It's just I was like, you don't even play handheld as much as I do. I literally only play handheld. You be having it docked sometimes. And he was like, I want the OLED. And I was like, okay. So he got himself a Switch OLED. So now we got two in the house. We got two. It's ridiculous. Two OLEDs on the eve of Nintendo potentially releasing a new console. Well, we'll see when that happens. I mean, the Switch has been out for a while now, so they could potentially release a new one next year. We'll see. But like the sales are still really good for the Switch, so I don't know. If I were them, I would probably hold off a little bit longer, but we'll see. But yeah, the OLED. I remember when I did my review for it, and someone commented they were just like, it's not worth, even if you trade it in, and you got credit for it, it's not worth upgrading from. And I still stick by, like, it depends on if you value handheld gaming that much. It's significantly better. Like, in every way, the speakers are better, the screen's a lot better. Like, the colors are way better. It's bigger. It's just a really nice display. Like, the colors, like, if you look at the colors side by side with the original Switch, you're like, oh yeah, these colors are. I don't even know what those colors were, but like the OLED is just gorgeous. So to me, it's worth it. But I play the Switch exclusively handheld, so I can understand it not being worth it to everybody. It's not going to be one of those things that's for everybody. It's really technically to get new customers in. It was never really meant to be an upgrade product anyway. At least I don't think that's not really the way it was marketed. But to each his own. I enjoy the Switch OLED, and I plan on hopping back into it. I'm just doing my little stuff with the win right now. I go through my little fads, and I switch around devices all the time. I also plan on hopping back on PS5 when their subscription services drop, just to see, possibly sign up for it, and possibly see if they might have a free trial. If they have a free trial, I'll definitely try it. I just want to see what games are up there, especially on that high tier where they're going to have the PS1 and PS2 and PS3, but streaming only games. Yeah, like I mentioned during my news video, they, in my opinion, didn't do a good job of selling the announcement. And they had some notable games. Like I said, they had both the Spider-Man games up there, and they had Returnal. But if you're someone, that actually got their hands on the PS5, you probably already have all these games. And, the PS5 is your newest system. I understand the PS4 install base is, different. But again, Returnal is only a PS5 game, so if they're putting that up there, then obviously they're marketing this towards PS5, because all those games are like multi-platform, well, PS4 and PS5 except for like Returnal. So obviously they're marketing it towards, PS5 gamers, but we're talking about a fan base that got the system early, where we only have a handful of games that were designed for PS5 in the first place. We're probably going to have all these games already, because we already bought the system. We're going to want games that were made for that system, so I don't feel like I'm alone. I'm in that boat where I'm like, I looked at that lineup and I was like, I already have all these games. Like, I bought the system and I wanted to play stuff, so I bought these games already. Can we get something like a little bit newer? Not that I'm complaining. I'm not trying to complain, because I don't know what else they're going to have in the lineup, but if they're putting that front and center, that tells me that's probably going to be like the marquee titles that they're going to try to use to sell this service. And I feel like for a PS5 owner specifically, it's going to be a harder sell. Maybe, depending on what they have on PS4, I could see possibly someone with a PS4 still wanting it. But like, if someone with a PS5 that wants PS5 games looks at this and it's just those games, then it's just going to be, I don't know. It's still not as bad a deal as the Nintendo's expansion pack. Gosh, that was disappointing. And I remember talking about it before they announced pricing. Well, not before it was announced in general, back when it was still a rumor. And I was like, N64 games, sign me up for F-Zero. And of course, F-Zero did come, but I never signed up for it because that price jump is just ridiculous for some N64 games. Like, come on. We have the family plan. The family plan went to $80 for N64, and that's it. It's like a handful of games. Nah, you gotta come down on that price. Like, they would have done $35 for single and $50 for family. I would have done that. That's fine. That's still more than double what they were charging before, but it's still within reason based off of what they were. Because before it was $20 for single and $35 for family. So family would go up $15, single would go up $15. Well, it wouldn't be double, but my math was off. But yeah, $15 more or something like that. That's fine. But like more than double. Speaking of more than double, I'm about to go and more than double myself to sleep. My puns aren't even good. I'm tired. I actually ran 2.5 miles. Well, I was on the I did 3.5 miles on the treadmill. I actually ran 2.5 miles before I was like, okay, I'm out of breath. Let me walk now. But trying to get back into shape a little bit. So I worked. Well, rebuilt my computer, fought with Jeff's computer, worked 8 hours, ran, and now I'm doing this live stream. That's the story of my life. That's the Mike Text It Out lifestyle. You got one life to live. Make sure you do it right. Make sure you do at least 2 things at the same time. Make sure you tune in on Sunday. Make sure you tune in next Wednesday when I'll be dropping that review for that monitor. Spoiler alert, is actually pretty good. So I will see y'all then. Peace out. I'm going to hit the end stream button, and then I have to hit another button after this to actually end it. Your stream will stop immediately. You'll no longer be live. Should I press it?